See that recording thing right there? Okay, now we're on. Hi.
Hey,
how
how
ya?
you doing?
Welcome back.
Great to see everybody. Hey.
What is it? Oh, I was going to do, I didn't even.
Welcome
TikTok.
back.
I always watch TikTok. So now go to that.
Okay, now what?
Go to the three things and stop recording. Okay, hit stop recording.